Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. It started on Highway 9 just north of Shelbyville, Indiana. The alternator on the otherwise faithful and true tactical Toyota decided to go south while I was headed north. Now, this is the original tactical Toyota, the 2004 Toyota Tacoma Pre-Runner with 400,000 miles on it. At the date of this recording, there's 430,000 miles on my little black truck. But here I was, dead in the water on the roadside in rural Indiana. The good folks from the congregation where I was speaking came and got me. I made it to the youth rally on time. We spoke, and then afterwards, in the dark, in the rain, we towed my truck to a place where we could work on it after the youth rally on Saturday. In my haste to get things out of my truck and head to the motel, I neglected my DOP kit. Now, most people call that a shaving kit. My wife always asks, "Did you forget your makeup bag?" And since I do not wear makeup and have never worn makeup, I prefer to use the title from World War II that became popular when Samsonite purchased the DOP brand name and supplied GIs with the shaving kits that had been made popular by Charles Doppelt all the way back in 1919. Being absent in my shaving supplies, antiperspirant, toothbrush, toothpaste, etc., I went for a walk the next day and tried to find some supplies. Dollar Shave Club. That is what actually popped into my mind. That's what I thought when I held the cheap, dangerous razor in my hand. They actually have a Dollar Shave Club. I can buy and use a razor that only cost $1. The good news is that if there's ever a second Passover, room 217 at the Super 8 Motel in Greenfield, Indiana, has blood on the doorpost, the mirror, the sink, the carpet, the towels. What was I thinking? I fell for a cheap substitute. And instead of coming away looking like I had a cleanly shaved head, it looked like I'd survived a fight with a porcupine using pine cone nunchucks. The cheap substitute. We are vulnerable to it all the time. We use minimization, denial, and blame rather than true repentance. We adopt a strategy of, hey, let's try to get out of trouble rather than let's solve the problem. We let the things that have happened to us or didn't happen to us, things people said or didn't say, become a compass, become a roadmap for how we should approach the present and how we should approach the future. We let our past be a compass bearing and forget that experience is not what happens to you, but what you do with what happens to you. Heard David Shannon say one time that if A is what happens to you and C is my life, A does not equal C. A is what happens to you, B is how I respond to it, and C equals my life. Letting your opinion about my color, my neighborhood, my profession, my ancestry, letting your opinion of those things change what God has already said about me. I have inherent worth. I'm created in His image, and Jesus died for all of us. If I let your opinion of whatever change my value, then that's a cheap substitute for the true value I get from God. The cheap substitute. Sex does not equal love. An affair is still adultery. Gossip is still gossip and not helpful information. Revenge is not justice, and holding a grudge is still failure to forgive. Not telling the whole truth is still lying. Telling something out of context is still lying. Rebellion, regardless of the reason, is the opposite of submission. Selfishness is wrong, no matter what we convince ourselves we deserve. And just one time is still one time. and you've crossed a previously uncrossed line. Regardless of how good it sounds, regardless of how popular they make it seem, a dollar razor still costs $1. It's worth $1. And it shaves like something that is worth less than $1. Because you see, if they can sell it for $1, it costs less than $1 to make it. See, when we fall for the cheap substitute, we end up with a bloody mess and scars long after the cheap decision has been made. Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure, is sponsored by us. What? We sponsor ourselves? Is that even legal? Check us out on Amazon. You can have access to the titles of Pedagogue, the youth ministry book by Lonnie Jones, Cognitive Spiritual Development, a Christ-centered approach to spiritual self-esteem, Grappling with Life, Controlling Your Inside Space, a small essay using the principles of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to talk about psychological and emotional self-defense, If I Were a Mouse, a children's book written and illustrated by Lonnie Jones, and then The Selfish Reel, a very short story about a decision. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel to see archived lessons and presentations from across the country, some videos with rope tricks and knots. Don't forget to visit the Facebook page 550 Guys to learn about the little rope men that we make and that we invented and that we make. And then be sure to click like, subscribe, and share. This is Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure.